What's up, my people? It's your boy Kiwami Games back up in the mother effing house. And as always, I hope you all are having a wonderful day, morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you may be in the world. Alright, my guys and girls, and today we have our pure vampire deck for the Legend Anthology event. And I don't want to make the intro too long. I just want to hop into the replays very quickly. But I just want to mention that I'm running 2 DNA surgery because, as we all know, Zombie World is banned. So I'm using this sort of as a replacement. And some cards that I was running were Ultimate Slayer and Crackdown. But I decided to remove these 2 cards, and this is sort of the deck list that I ended up playing at the end of the day. So I'll go over each card at the end of the video. Let's just jump right into these replays because there are a lot of fun stuff going on over here. So, yep, let's get into it, my guys and girls. Alright, everybody. So let's get into game number 1. And here we are going to go up against, I believe it's gravekeepers, if I remember correctly. Alright, so we're going first. Our hand is alright, so we're going to normal summon the familiar, and then we're going to go into a link Karibo. So now we can activate the familiar from the graveyard. We're going to send the retainer, special summon the familiar. Familiar is going to get us our shadow vampire. Then activate the retainer, send the grace. Then the retainer is going to get us our vampire's domain. Then we're going to activate the domain so that we can normal summon. And then we're going to normal summon the shadow vampire, special summon the scarlet scourge, and bring back the grace. And then with these 2 monsters, we're going to make our vampire sucker. Okay, then with grace, we're going to declare monster just to see what our opponent is playing with. And then using our 2 level 6 monsters, we're going to make Dragulus. And then we're going to set our trap card and pass. Alright, and our opponent, of course, he's going to have the super poly. He's going to poly all 3 of my monsters. So he just completely broke my board. Alright, then the Dragula is going to activate, bring himself back into defense position. Alright, then he's going to go into one of his boss monsters, the Supernaturalist. Alright, so now this card, whenever it's flipped face up, we can target a monster on the field and we can send it to the graveyard. So we end up sending his spirit Supernaturalist to the graveyard just so that we don't end up taking further damage. Alright, then we're going to normal summon our sorcerer, and I'm going to crash into the sorcerer so that I can add a monster. So we're going to add Fraulein. And then now, because I have Voivode in my hand, I'm going to first activate the... So this is another nice little combo. First, you always want to activate the vampire's domain. And as you may know from my little combo tutorial video that I made a while back, the sorcerer has the effect that you can banish it from the graveyard, and then 1 normal vampire that you will summon can be summoned without tributing. So now I can normal summon my Voivode without having to tribute to monster. So that's a nice little combo there. And then we're going to steal his Supernaturalist. He's going to activate the Rite of Spirit to prevent me from stealing his monster, but we got the I'm going to negate trap card, so we're going to negate that. Alright, bring that bad boy over here. He looks better on our side anyways. And then we have, since we already attacked, we cannot attack again. Alright, he's going to add the gravekeeper monster, then he's going to activate it, but Voivode, he can negate that, so we're going to negate that. Otherwise, he was going to be able to get a Necro Valley, and then that Necro Valley would have hurt us. Alright, he's going to attack, so we can activate Fraulein. And then since we special summon a monster, the Vampire Grace can special summon herself from the graveyard. And then our opponent, he's not going to read our card, so he's going to attack into Voivode, and we're going to give Voivode that attack boost with Fraulein. And we draw another Fraulein. Then using these 2 monsters, we're going to make our Dampier. And then with the Dampier, we can send his monster to the graveyard so we can have an open field so that we can OTK. Alright, we're going to regain those life points. And we missed lethal, but we're okay. So it's back to our opponent. Alright, and he's just gonna crash because he has nothing else. But that's game number 1. Gravekeepers. We put them in the grave, baby. Vampires for the win. Alright, let's keep it moving. Alright, what's up, everybody? We're back at it. Game number 2. And in this one, we're gonna go up against Dark Magician. And our hand is kind of trash, but our opponent doesn't know how our cards work because he's gonna activate infinite impermanence. I don't know why, but it's all good. So we set our trap card and we pass turn. Alright. The Magician of Right is going to activate. We're definitely going to negate that because that's a searcher in the Dark Magician deck, and we don't need him to search for Eternal Soul or the Magical Circle or anything like that. Alright, but he's got the Fusion spell, so he's going to go into the Dark Magician. Alright, he's going to kill my doggy. But it's alright, he's a vampire, so he's going to come back to life. Alright, so we activate him in the graveyard, send Grace to the graveyard, special summon the retainer, and we're going to search for Vampire's Desire, activate Desire, so we can send the sorcerer. And then the Dark Magician is going to draw a card because we activated a spell card. And then we're going to super poly that away. And we're going to go into Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. And then the sorcerer is going to banish itself so that we can normal summon Voivode without having to pay tribute. Then we're going to steal his Dark Magician and his Magician's Rod. And then with these two monsters, we're going to make our Dampier. And now we have lethal damage. Boom. Take that, and take that. See you later, Dark Magician. Alright, my people, we got game number 3. And this one, I think we're going up against Elemental Heroes, if I remember correctly. Oh no, this is, yeah, I think it's like a weird mix of Armed Dragon and Elemental Hero, something like that. Alright, so we're gonna Harpy Feather Dust to that trap, that spell card. And then we're gonna go normal summon Familiar, go into Link Haribo. And then now the Familiar can activate itself from the graveyard to send the doggy to the graveyard. Alright, then we can search for our Grace. Then the Retainer is going to send the Grace to the graveyard, special summon itself. Then with this, we're going to add our trap card. Then with this, we're going to make our Vampire Fascinator. And then Fascinator is going to be able to steal one of our opponent's monsters from the graveyard. Alright, then we're going to tribute the Fascinator so that we can steal his other monster. And with these two monsters, we're going to make our Dampier. Dampier has been shining for me a lot lately. Since they got rid of the zombie vampire, you know, Dampier has become now the MVP. Alright, he's going to special summon that Neil's dude, whatever he is, and I cannot attack him while he's in defense because of the spell card. Then I'm going to activate DNA Surgery and I'm going to call Zombie. And I feel like this Neil's fusion, maybe I should have negated it with the trap card, but my thought process was that I thought maybe he was going to activate a monster effect with whatever monster he was going to fusion summon, and then I was going to negate that instead. But little misplay on my part, I guess. But anyways, we got the super poly, so we did get a little lucky. And then we're going to tribute both of his monsters and go into our Dragon Necro. Alright, and then we're going to normal summon Mezuki. We're going to smack him for 3,000, smack him for 1,700. Then using these two monsters, we're going to make our Vampire Sucker. And then I'm going to activate Mezuki in the graveyard. And I'm going to bring back the Fascinator. And the reason why I bring back the Fascinator, this is actually kind of a bait. Because I don't want my Sucker to die. Now that I have the DNA active, so I figure that chances are they might attack the Fascinator instead of the Sucker. Alright, so now he's going to activate his Miracle Contact. He's going to bring Elemental Hero Brave Mist, something like that. So there he goes. He takes the bait. He ends up attacking my Fascinator instead of my Vampire Sucker. So I don't want him to kill my Sucker, so that if I draw Voivode or something like that, I can tribute his 2 monsters instead of tributing my own monsters. And here we're going to activate 1 for 1. We're going to send the ghost to the graveyard so that we can special summon the familiar. And then the familiar is going to be able to search me my Vampire Voivode. And then, just like that, we can tribute his 2 monsters away. And we just broke his board just like that. So that's why I was glad he did not kill my Sucker. And just with that, he's going to concede too. So yeah, man, Sucker and Dampier have been like the MVPs of this deck so far. And Vampire Voivode, of course. But let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. What's up, my people? Welcome back. Our next replay. And I think in this one, we're going to go up against Dark Magician. Alright, we're going second. Yep, Dark Magician it is. I feel like Dark Magician has been shining a lot in this event. I've been playing against a lot of Dark Magician, a lot of Blue Eyes, and a lot of like elemental heroes. Alright, so we're going to activate Vampire Kingdom. He's going to activate Eternal Soul. Alright, he's going to bring back his Dark Magician. And then our hand is actually kind of trash, so all we can do is normal summon sorcerer, set our trap, and pass turn. He's going to get the dark magic attack. We're going to negate that with the trap card. Get that out of here. Alright, now he's got his dark magical circle, and with these 3 monsters, he's going to make the Black Luster Soldier. And then since the Dark Magician is level 7, this Black Luster Soldier is now unaffected by card effects. Alright, and then since Sorcerer was destroyed by battle, I can add a Vampire monster to my hand. So we're going to add Voivode. And then he's going to give himself a 1500 attack boost. Alright, so now it's back to us. And I'm glad that he used his Eternal Soul before I even did anything, because I guess he really wanted to get rid of my field spell, but it's all good. I'm much rather him to get rid of my field spell than one of my monsters. So I was going to try to bait him to use his Dark Magical Circle, but yep, he jumped the gun. So now I can combo all. We go into our Vampire Sucker. But he has the Super Poly hot and ready. So he's going to get rid of my Vampire Sucker and go into the Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Then we're going to activate Ultimate Slayer and we're going to get rid of his Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. And then since we send Garura to the graveyard, we can draw a card. And then here, I'm not quite sure what was going on through my head. I forgot to set Super Poly and I forgot to set my Domination. Because if he attacks, I could special summon my Fraulein and then the Domination would be active. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what was going through my mind. So that was a little bit of a misplay on my part. Alright, so we get Fraulein out there. And then we have to burn our life points to protect Fraulein. And we burn again and we burn again. I know this was a very, very risky move on my part, but you know what you're gonna do. You gotta risk it for the biscuit. And he's gonna go into the big eye, so now he's gonna get rid of my Fraulein. He's gonna attach it to himself. He's gonna take my strategies and use it against me, bro. You see this? Alright, so I'm gonna activate Monster Reborn, target his Dark Magician, because again, I want to bait that Eternal Soul. I don't want him to banish any of my cards with the Magical Circle. So he took the bait once again. Alright, and then now I use my Super Poly. And then I go into my Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. 2 can play that game, bro. 2 can play that game. Alright, then he's got the effect Veiler, so he's gonna put a stop to my Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. But we still got play, so we're gonna banish our sorcerer so that we can normal summon our Voivode. And then we're gonna steal his 2 monsters, and then with his 2 monsters we're gonna make Dampier. And then with Dampier, I think most people forget that Dampier, his effect is not just like monsters. You cannot just send monsters. You're able to send anything. So using Dampier, I'm gonna send the Eternal Soul to the graveyard, and then that's gonna trigger, and it's gonna break all of his monsters. And then I'm gonna activate his second effect to steal a monster from his graveyard, and then he's gonna give up. So yeah, don't forget about that, about Dampier. I feel like most players maybe think that Dampier can only send monster cards to the graveyard, but no, he can send anything on the field to the graveyard. So don't forget that whenever you're using Dampier. But let's keep it moving. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. All right, we got the vampires, and this time we're gonna go up against, I believe it's Warrock. All right, and our hand is kind of trash. I can't lie, it's kind of trash. So we just set Mezuki and DNA Surgery. Okay, he's gonna activate his spell cards. And then here, I should have popped my DNA Surgery because this card needed a warrior monster in order to special summon itself. But I learned from my mistake, and I activate now DNA Surgery, and I declare zombies. So now he cannot further extend. So he's just going to crash into my Mezuki, send it to the graveyard. And then that card is going to allow him to draw one card. Alright, then it's back to us. Alright, we're going to activate Mind Control, take his monster, and use those two monsters, and we're going to go into our Vampire Sucker. Alright, and then using Familiars, we're going to send Graze, and then special summon Familiar. Sucker's going to draw a card, and then Familiar's going to search a monster from our deck, and we're going to add it to our hand. So we add Fraulein, and then we draw into Ultimate Slayer. And then with these two monsters, we're going to make our Vampire Fascinator. So we're going to steal one of his monsters from the graveyard. And then we're going to tribute our Fascinator, so that we can steal, well actually yeah, we're going to tribute the Grace so that we can steal his monster. And then using Fascinator and our monster, we're going to make a YuGioH. Then Mezuki is going to banish itself so we can bring back the Fascinator. Alright, he's going to activate his spell so that he can bring back a monster from the graveyard. And then when a monster is special summoned from the graveyard, the YuGioH can activate her effect. And that's going to target one monster and is going to permanently negate them and also turn their attack to 0. Alright, he's going to attack, but we're going to activate Fraulein, give him an attack boost. Alright, and once again, he's going to bring back another monster from the graveyard so that he can protect his life points. And then we're going to activate YuGioH again, and we're going to negate. Alright, and then this monster right now is indestructible, so I didn't even bother with attacking. Alright, and then I don't know why is it that nobody reads cards, or like they just don't learn from the mistakes. Like, you realize I used Fraulein on you on the last turn, and yet you're going to attack my monsters again. Like, I don't know what's wrong with people sometimes. But that's what happens when you don't read or you don't pay attention, and you're going to get your ass whooped. Alright, so we're going to set Ultimate Slayer, and that's kind of like a little bait just in case. I don't know if he has a card that can pop back row. Okay, then that card is going to search him a trap card, but that's all he wrote. Okay, we're going to normal summon the Retainer, and then we're going to make another Vampire Sucker. Alright, and with the Retainer, we're going to search for our Vampire's Domination. And then the sucker is going to draw us a card. And then from here, that's all she wrote. He's going to special summon a monster, but it doesn't matter because he's dead. Boom, baby. Boom. Boom, shaka laka laka. Vampires for the win, bro. Alright everybody, welcome back to our last replay for today. And in this specific replay, if you pay attention to this starting combo, this is sort of like the opening hand that you want if you're ever running the Beatrice route. Unfortunately, Beatrice and Doom King, Baladrock, and Zombie World is banned in this event, so I won't be able to show you the whole combo. But this is essentially how you would start. You will normal summon Ghost, then you'll send a Vampire Monster to the graveyard, then you're going to get the Grace to the hand, then you're going to activate Retainer, send the Grace to the graveyard, special summon Retainer and get your Vampire's Domain. But since we already have Domain, I'm going to search for the Domination. Then the Familiar is going to get us our Shadow Vampire. And then using those two monsters, we're going to make our Vampire Sucker so that we can draw a card later on. Then we're going to activate Domain, pay 500 life points so that we can normal summon another Vampire card from our hand. Then with the Shadow Vampire, we're going to search for the Scarlet Scourge, and then the Scarlet Scourge is going to pay 1,000 life points to get a Vampire from our graveyard. So we're going to get the Vampire Familiar, and then the Grace is going to special summon herself by paying 2,000 life points. And then at this point, we're already at 3,500 life points. So this is one of the reasons why I kind of stopped using the Beatrice route, because yeah, right now, with the Grace and the Scorch, we will be able to go into our Beatrice, and then with the Beatrice we can detach a monster, and then we'll be able to send Banshee to the graveyard, and then Banshee, you know, will banish herself so that we can get the Zombie World into the field. And then on our opponent's turn, we will be able to detach another material, send Glow of Bloom, and then Glow of Bloom will be able to special summon the Doom King Baladrock, and that would be like a quicker way of getting Doom King and Zombie World out on the field. But I don't know, for me, having to go through all of this combo to end on 3,500 life points, and then also if your opponent has like a Nibiru or something like that, or any negate, then like you burn yourself for all of this life points, and then you won't be able to completely do the combo. So that's one of the reasons why I pretty much stopped running the Beatrice route. But I know some people still question me about it, you know, how come I don't do it, but that's one of the major reasons. But yeah, anyway, so we're going up against heroes, and here he's just gonna do a couple of stuff to extend. I'm gonna let him extend and try to negate at the perfect time. So he adds the plasma, so now I'm going to negate, because the plasma is gonna need at least 3 monsters on the field so that we can special summon the plasma. So we're gonna put a stop to that. And that was a perfect choke point, because now he cannot extend. And since we have YuGioH on the field, YuGioH has the effect that monsters that are banished, they cannot activate their effects. Alright, and then since we special summon a monster from the graveyard, the YuGioH can trigger her other effect, which we can target a monster on the field, and we'll be able to negate their effects and also bring their attack to 0. So I guess our opponent felt that's too much, he can't handle any of that, so he's just gonna stay right there. But yeah, that's the last replay, so let's move on to the deck list. Alright everybody, thank you all so much for checking out the video, and if you made it this far, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. I'm almost at 500 subs, and I would greatly appreciate any support that I can receive. And for those who have been sticking around with me thus far, I thank you all so much for checking me out every time I drop a video. So thank you all so much, and yeah, let's get into the deck list. We have 3 Vampire Familiar. Alright, when she is special summoned from the graveyard, she can search you any of your vampire monsters. We have 1 Kurikara. This is sort of like whenever we're going second, and if our opponent has a whole bunch of monsters that can negate, then she can kind of help break boards. Then we have Vampire Retainer. When he's special summoned from the graveyard, then he can search you any vampire spell or trap card from the deck. Then we have 3 Vampire Ghost. This is going to be your vampire starter monster. Then we have 2 Mezukis. Sort of as an extender, you can banish him from the graveyard, and then you can special summon a zombie monster from the graveyard. Then we have Vampire Sorcerer. He has 2 effects. The first effect is when he is destroyed by battle, then you can search either a vampire monster or a vampire spell or trap from your deck to your hand. And then when he's in the graveyard, you can banish him so that you can normal summon a vampire monster without having to tribute. We run one Mudora just in case if we run out of resources and we need to put stuff back into our deck. We have one Shadow Vampire. When he is normal summoned, you can then special summon the Vampire Scarlet Scourge. And then the Scarlet Scourge, when he is normal or special summoned, you can pay 1,000 life points. Then you can target one vampire monster in your graveyard and you can special summon it. Then we have two Vampire Fraulein. She can special summon herself during the battle phase. And then she can give your zombie monsters an attack boost. Then we have one Vampire Graze. Her first effect is that you can declare a monster, spell, or trap card, and then your opponent has to send one of those cards to the graveyard. And then her second effect, when the level 5 or higher zombie monster is special summoned, she can special summon herself from the graveyard by paying 2,000 life points. And then we have the boss monster, Vampire Voivode. Alright, when he is normal summon, he can steal 2 monsters from our opponent's graveyard, and then we can use those 2 monsters to go into our Dampier. And then Voivode also has sort of like a quick effect to negate hand traps. Anything that activates from the hand to the graveyard, it gets negated. Then we have one Harpies Feather Duster, one Mind Control to help break boards, one Monster Reborn to have an extender, 1-for-1 to search for our Vampire Familiar, and then the Familiar can search as a Vampire monster, so it can be as an extender. One Vampire Desire can also be an extender. We have 2 Vampire Kingdom. Zombie Vampires gain 500 life points, and then if our opponent ends up milling a card, we can target a card on the field and destroy it. And then we have 2 Vampires Domain. We can pay 500 life points, and we can pretty much normal summon twice, as long as it's vampire monsters. And then whenever we do damage with a vampire monster, we gain those life points back. And then we have 3 super polys as our board breaker. One Vampire Takeover to search for the field spell, and also this allows us to special summon one Dark Vampire from our graveyard. And then one Infinite Impermanence, one Vampire Awakening. This is going to allow us to special summon a vampire monster, but it gets destroyed at the end of the turn, so you have to be careful which monster you end up special summoning with this. Then we have our Omni Negate and 2 DNA Surgery to sort of replace Zombie World since Zombie World is banned. And then our Super Poly targets is one Garura, one Dragon Necro, one Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, one Vampire Bram, one Dragulus, one Dampier Vampire Sheridan, one Wallow, one Link Karibo, 2 Vampire Sucker, one Barricade Board Blocker, one Blackluster Soldier, the Soldier of Chaos. This you can place it for, like, I don't know, an Access Code Talker if you want to, but I just love this card, so I threw it in there. And we have 2 Vampire Fascinator, and we have one Yuki Onna. Alright, and the downside to this deck is that it can brick because a lot of our monsters, you know, they're level 5 and above, which is why I don't run a whole lot of other vampire cards. But other than that, you know, the Vampire's Domain and the 1-for-1 does help whenever we have a brick hand. But yeah, it just feels amazing being able to play our favorite deck again. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them down in the comment and I'll try to reply to them as soon as I can. So thank you all so much and enjoy the rest of your day, evening, morning, night, wherever you may be in the world. Kiwami Games, I'm out.